Welcome back to another Fab for Less video and another instalment of the Player's Toolbox. Today we're going to be diving into those RUNEBLADE staples. Let's get in. When we think about the staple cards for each class, we're thinking about the cards that are played across all of those heroes within that class, regardless of their talent. And Rosetta Thorn is the go-to sword for every RUNEBLADE hero. It's super powerful, coming in for 2 arcane and 2 combat as long as you've played Flesh and Blood, as long as you've played a non-attack action and an attack action. Aether Ironweaves become the go-to chess piece. It gives you some extra resources just for playing Flesh and Blood, and also blocks for 1 with Battle Worn. The competitive crowd will swear by the Grasp of the Arc Knight, but if you're on a budget, Vexing Quillhound was one of the better pieces of Majestic equipment to come out of Everfest. The RUNEBLADE class is all about creating extra value from playing non-attacks and attacks. Movrian Skies is a zero-cost non-attack action from Crucible of War that just does everything that the RUNEBLADE class wants to do. It's a non-attack action with Go Again that enables your next attack to gain Go Again and gives it an on-hit effect of creating rune chant tokens to push extra arcane damage. Sting of Sorcery doesn't see as much play as Movrian Skies, but it is the second most played RUNEBLADE non-attack action across the RUNEBLADE heroes. If you could play more copies of Skies, you would, but Sting of Sorcery ain't bad. Revel in Runeblood is a card that's a bit on the expensive side to be mentioned in a Fab for Less video, but I felt it needed a mention here as it's seen a lot of play. It's a zero-cost non-attack action with Go Again with a pretty big upside that might be worth paying for. In our Elemental brand of RUNEBLADE non-attack actions, we've got Bramble Spark, another zero-cost non-attack action with Go Again that has potential upside of being able to give a buff and push arcane damage. Zero-cost non-attack actions seem pretty good. In Shadow flavour we had Seeds of Agony. That was a zero-cost non-attack action with Go Again, but that proved too good, so that's banned. So instead, the most played Shadow RUNEBLADE non-attack action is Dimensional Crossroads, a non-attack action with Go Again that's an aura so it can hang around and it provides some extra arcane damage when you play cards from the Banished Zone. Okay, onto the attacks, and the most played RUNEBLADE attack action card is actually Vexing Malice Blue. It ticks a lot of boxes, 3 to be precise. It blocks for 3, it pitches for 3, and it comes in for 3 damage, 2 arcane and 1 physical. Spellblade Assault is the second most played RUNEBLADE attack action, and it ticks a lot of the same boxes. Swarming Gloomveil is an attack that's seen a lot of play across all the RUNEBLADE heroes, but it's a bit pricey for our tastes. If we were doing a Fab for Less budget brew, we might look at Meet and Greet instead. Runic Reclamation is a card that's not as pricey as Gloomveil and keeps showing up on quite a few lists. I'm not sure whether this is Phantasm tech yet though, or whether it's actually a staple. Arcadic Shockwave is the most run elemental RUNEBLADE attack, and you can see why. 0 for 4 is good, 0 for 5 if it's fused is even better. Shadow of Ursa is the most played Shadow RUNEBLADE attack action card. You can play it from the Banished Zone, you can add cards to your Banished Zone, it's just doing everything that deck wants to do. Onto the defense reactions, and there's only 2 to discuss. Sigil of Suffering is the one that's most played, and you can see why. Being able to deal damage on an opponent's turn is a pretty useful effect. Reduced Rune Chant is our other option, but this is mostly played in Viscerai, as you really need to be creating rune chants to make this one worthwhile. Onto the instance, and there's only one to discuss here, and it comes in Shadow flavour. Invert Existence, which is a pretty useful effect now that we've got things like Phoenix Flames in the format. Being able to banish those from a graveyard would be pretty good utility. Thanks for joining us for the RUNEBLADE Staples edition of the Player's Toolbox. I hope you found it useful. Most of the information presented here came from Teklo Labs. If you haven't checked Teklo Labs out yet, there's a link available in the description. It provides lots of information about different cards and heroes. As always, like and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you next time.